Welcome to Smalltalk Daily for Friday, June 19th, 2009. This morning I wanted to go through the difference between strings and symbols, and this is something that I'm doing in VisualWorks, but you should be aware that this is appropriate to Object Studio as well, and represents something of a difference between the way Object Studio 8, which is based on VisualWorks in terms of the core implementation of the libraries, and Object Studio Classic, meaning 7 or before. So let me just get started with the differences. Let's create two strings, both equal to the string symbol. So string 1 and string 2 are pointing at that. If I look at this, string 1 equals string 2, I should get back true. And that's because if you do an equal check between string 1 and string 2, it's going to ask, are the characters all the same? Equal, on the other hand, is a completely different animal. It's asking, are they exactly the same object? And in the case of strings, they're not. So let's go ahead and look up implementers of the selector equal, and we find it's actually implemented in string. And you look here, what it's actually doing is checking to see if they're symbols and answering false if they're symbols. But down here it actually goes through and checks each individual character against each individual character of the other string. So if we're doing an equal check, we're asking for functional equivalence. So we'll ask if the numbers are the same, we'll ask if the characters in the string are the same, we'll ask if the elements in a collection are the same, that kind of thing. Whereas a double equal check is asking for actual same object in memory. So let's create symbols out of these things by sending as symbol to them. So we'll do that. And now at this point, let's just take a look over here at the variable tab, and you look at the way they print string 1, string 2. Notice the way it puts the little hash here in front of them, because that's indicating to you that that's a symbol. Let's go back over here. And now we'll ask, are they the same thing with equal? That should be true. And more importantly, we'll ask this question, and that turns out to also be true. So let's go ahead and look at that. Browse implementers of, let's browse the whole class, symbol. And if you take a look over here at equal, you find that the implementation of equal is equal. Now it's actually calling down to a primitive, but that primitive does a double equal check. So for symbols, asking equal is the same as asking double equal, which is not the same thing for strings. So that's something to be aware of. Now let's take a walk through the debugger here when we create a symbol. So let's go ahead and create the string foo as symbol and see what happens by walking through this. So we'll do a debug it, bring the debugger over here, and we'll send into this. And you see here it's going ahead and it's going to intern. And what that means is that when we create a symbol, we create one copy of it, and that's why anytime you ask whether they're the same object, it turns out true, because you can only ever have one copy of a given symbol in memory at a time. They're interned in memory. So once I save the image, that's it. There's going to be that version of that in memory. Once I create a symbol, that's it. That's the only one in memory. So let's drop in a few more levels to intern. And you see it's referencing a symbol table here. That's because it's going to store this off in the symbol table, and that way we can actually make sure there's only one copy. So if we go down to that, we create a symbol table, and we go here, symbol for string. And now we're going to do this. We're going to actually look it up and see if it's there. If it's the first lookup, we'll create it, store it, and then return it. If it's not the first one, we'll just return the cached version of it. So that's the way symbols operate. They're unique in the system. And the interesting thing about them is you can do some cool things with symbols. It turns out that methods are stored as symbols in method dictionaries for objects. So if I do something like this, if I say object, and this is the class, perform, and I send it foo, it's going to try to send the message foo to object. Now this isn't going to work. So if I do a do it, you're going to see it break. And that's because it's going to tell me there's no such message. But notice it tried to send the message. And what that means is that if you take a symbol, you can use that as a selector name and use it to construct methods that you can execute on objects. That's another thing you can do with symbols. Anyway, that's about it for today. Until next time, have fun with Smalltalk.